Hello everyone, my name is Wajiro Mureithi of WINENJIRU Exclusives and welcome to Conversations with WINENJIRU. We are taking a journey through the wines and spirits ecosystem in Kenya, talking to the stakeholders in that space, what role they play, what does it take to be in this kind of businesses. I hope you're enjoying the series so far, because today we have a very, very important guest. We go a long, long way. In fact, this conversation is long overdue.
It is.
Yes?
It definitely is.
As students, we were part of some global organization, ISEC.
Yes.
I don't remember what it means in French, but that's where we first met.
Yes.
Do you remember those days?
I remember those days. We'd just gotten our first IDs.
So Victoria Mulu-Munywoki, wine icon in Kenya. She's one of the pioneers, amazing woman who's done so much for this industry. Welcome, and so glad that you were able to have time to sit with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Yes.
It's funny that you're saying we didn't have IDs then, because you look like you just got your ID yesterday.
Oh, thank you. It's the wine. It pickles me, yeah. But yes, we were pretty young, and I think at the time we were so focused that we had the foresight to join this international organization. And if I remember the translation well, ISEC is Association of Students, International Students Interested in Economic and Commerce.
And commerce, yes.
And commerce, yeah. So, whoa, it's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I know the reason why I joined ISEC was I wanted to travel the world.
Not the boys?
There was the boys too. I had a lot of crushes. It was the boys too.
Yes.
But that whole thing about travel, and maybe that's why I'm attracted to the industry of wine. But do tell us, what were you studying then? And before wine, what were you doing?
So I was studying a Bachelor of Education degree in Kenyatta University, and I was majoring in home economics, and now it's known as food science.
Oh, great.
So there's a lot of tie-ins there, yes. And I also joined ISEC because I enjoyed the idea of people and traveling and conversations. So it's inevitable that I ended up in this business.
Great, great,
Yeah.
great. So at least you had the foresight to be in the food and science space.
Yes.
And but then you were still not in wine. Did you start wine after your degree, or when did you get into the wines and spirits industry?
I got into the wines and spirits industry much later in life. In fact, when I was studying that course, there was no unit on wine or alcohol for that matter. It was just food, food, and more food. And there were other units in business, education, psychology, sociology, and irrelevant things that seemed, a bit useless at the time, but now they start to make sense.
Yes.
In fact, there was also maths for education, my worst subject. But, then I graduated and then moved on to the film industry.
Oh.
Yes, I shot a couple of films in Kenya and then
things
went
you learned.
abroad. Yes.
Wow.
So if I remember well, it was To Walk with Lions, featuring Anderson. Remember the animal, the lion tamer?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I'm not sure if that was released, and there was another one whose name I forget now, but I remember it was so much fun, and we were up in northern Kenya and then traversed the country actually while shooting that film. And then, of course, I moved for my internship abroad. I went to Slovakia.
Wow.
Yes. At the time, Slovakia was... but that's a different story.
Okay, okay.
But I went to work in advertising there and then moved on to after my internship ended, I went to Germany, worked for the bank, Deutsche Bank.
Okay.
Then moved on to Morocco and then went to England.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm only finding out this today. And that's why I'm saying these conversations are long overdue. Let's take a step back. In the film, Were you in production or were you part of the cast?
I was in production. I was a production assistant. And in the To Walk with Lions film, I was a nurse.
You were on the cast as a nurse?
Yes. So
Wow.
I treated George Adamson.
Wow.
He was handsome. The George Adamson, the one who played George Adamson.
Okay.
For a bit. So my voice was in it, my body was in it, and I was in a nurse's uniform. It was so much fun.
Wow. I'm so
Yes.
jealous of that. Playing the role of a nurse in a real film. I only do that. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a privilege,
It was a privilege. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how, the arts, for example, are not very big, but even back then you were able to get into that. Would you go into film now?
I would. In fact, if I was not in the wine business, I would probably be in a creative business somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know how that would look like, but I love the creative side of things. I love the storytelling side of things, and I think I'm fulfilled in this right now.
Wine, right? Yes.
Yes, but it's always been a thought in my mind. If I was not doing wine, what else would I be doing?
Okay. I love that. So, young Kenyan girl goes to Slovakia, goes to Germany and Morocco.
Yes.
Do tell us, what was one of the most interesting things that happened to you at that time? As an exchange student, freedom, away from home?
Well, Slovakia for me was quite a journey because it was culturally and a very, very life-changing experience for me. Mm-hmm. Eastern Europe, I knew everything about Eastern Europe except how the people, are physically and emotionally and psychologically. And living in Bratislava was quite adulting, if you like.
Yes.
So one of the most interesting things that happened to me is that I learned how to ski.
Wow.
Yes, I skied in the Tatras Mountains, and it was quite an achievement, straight out of Africa, not even having seen snow in my life, to skiing down a slope without falling down.
Wow.
Well, that's after 1,000 falls. So that was quite nice. And I think also the friends that I made, I now have Slovak sisters, a Slovak family, going back to almost 20 years. That was a very interesting one.
You're revealing our ages. Why didn't you say that number?
I'm still about 26. I don't know about you. It was 20 years ago plus. Well, yes.
Yeah, so the Slovak experience.
The Slovak experience
and the family.
Yes, it was amazing. But then also I became a vodka expert.
Love it.
No, seriously, the Slovaks, the way you visit a Kenyan home and
Yes.
at the doorstep you're ushered in and then you're given a cup of tea?
Yes.
Right at the doorstep of a Slovak home, you're given a shot of homemade vodka. No one's tested how much alcohol is in it. You're just given a shot and it's like Dobry dzień.
That's welcome home.
Yes,
I love
made
it.
from anything, potatoes, leftover summer fruit, etc. And that was another experience that I will live to tell another day.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
Germany was actually the first country I visited as an ISEC person. We went for a trip. So tell us about your experience there. Where were you? And banking, from the creative space, from the food space?
Yes, it was a natural I think movement back into banking, because when I'm a bit of a busybody. So when I was in university, every holiday I was working with Barclays Bank. Okay. So I was interning there. There was no time to be idle. My mom would not even have thought of accommodating anybody who's not being useful around the house. So moving to Germany is poignant for me because that's where I discovered wine. That's where my love of wine started. That's where I took my first wine class.
Wow.
So I was working at Deutsche Bank in HR, and my boss at the time, Hilger Pottmann, I owe my career to Hilger Pottmann. He's still alive. Mm-hmm. So he took us out to lunch as a team, as you do, to introduce us to each other.
Yes.
And then he ordered everything for me.
Wow.
The wine, the schnitzel, the kartoffel, potatoes. Mm-hmm. And I was really intimidated. I was challenged. I thought, really? Like, he wouldn't even let me read the menu. Well, I didn't know what the hell wine was. Mm-hmm. So that's my biggest takeaway from Germany. It got me to where I am now.
Okay.
Because had that curiosity not been ignited at the time, I'd probably still be in banking, making a lot of money and being very miserable. And I'm not saying bankers are miserable, but that routine is just not my cup of tea. It doesn't go with my personality.
Okay. And we're all the better for it. Yeah. So you're one up on me. I lived in a snow country, Canada.
Yes.
I never learned how to ski. Neither did I ever even try it or even watch an ice hockey game. Nada.
Why?
terrible. I should have had you with me. So we have to do these things together now.
Yes, we
Germany
should.
was the first country I visited, but at the time I wasn't drinking alcohol. And I remember on 2 specific nights there was really great wine tasting. In fact, one was in a cave. We were in Karlsruhe.
Yes.
But again, I was not. So I need to go back for the experience.
Well,
right?
let's go back together.
And
Yes.
I mean, Provine is coming up soon, though we're not going this year. We can always
this
go some
year.
other time. So you have
Yeah.
you have those 2 on me. The
Yes.
third, Morocco. I want to visit Morocco. So do tell us about your experience there before the UK.
Oh, Morocco was amazing. You know, Morocco is really, for me, North Africa. Honestly, it feels like more an Arab world.
Yes.
They behave as such. Everything is almost geared to that. They do have very good wines, though. So Morocco was a short stint, not very long. And I traveled around Morocco from Essaouira to Fez, across the country. At the time, I wasn't in wine business at all.
At all, yes.
Anyway.
But you were a drinker now. At least you enjoyed it.
Yes.
You had some knowledge about it as well.
I had the knowledge, I had the love, the enthusiasm, and I could tell, because I'd taken some lessons, I could tell good wine from bad wine. But for me, Morocco, the biggest experience I took out of Morocco was the food culture.
Wow. Yeah.
And I love food. You do too.
I do.
I love food. And they take time to make their food, to prepare their food. They choose the best ingredients. They think about their history, their culture. Like, eating together is such a big deal.
Yes.
And for me, that communism, that communal partaking of food or something that has been made with love, I still have that with me. I think that was so special for me to appreciate. Something that we don't really do in Kenya a lot unless there is an event or unless there is, a gathering of sorts.
Our food culture is one thing, and I mean, that's up for debate. So tangines, your favorite, or?
Tagines, I like different types of foods, but yes, I did like the tagines. I like their pastries. I love their meat, just how they make their meat. So, and their fine dining is an experience of sorts as well. Yes, yeah.
So dates to remember on our tour. We already have 3 countries now going on, and then you finally landed in the UK.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I've always wanted to go to the UK. I'd always wanted as a child to go to the UK. It's the influence of the Queen, right?
Queen.
Oh, my
Royalty.
name, Victoria, curiosity of why did my parents call me Victoria? After who? But yes, we have a lot of British influence in Kenya. And my education was very much influenced by the British education system, as would yours have been. And so I went to the UK, and I didn't go straight into banking. I went into teaching. I was teaching high school students.
Wow.
Yes. At the time, fantastic children. Well, rascals on occasions.
Yes.
But yes, I went straight into teaching, and I was an IT teacher in 3 different schools. And I think that's the perfect way to absorb the English culture, because we think just by virtue of speaking English and being an English colony that we understand and appreciate that culture. But until you take a deep dive, like a first-hand experience interacting with them, you really don't understand how varied the English
are in all respects as well. We think they are very homogeneous, but not.
No, they're not.
This African girl teaching IT in a first world country. I mean, you have many surprises, Victoria. I wouldn't even ask how that happened.
No, I have been lucky. I have been blessed.
Very,
I have to
very
say.
fascinating. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I know, and this is nothing against the University of Nairobi, but I did 2 computer courses.
Yes.
At university level in theory.
Yes.
And I got like straight A's in both of them. Not having actually touched a computer. I did programming.
Really?
And something else. I'm telling you.
My goodness.
Lucky for the people who had been to Strathmore University, or then it was the college.
Yes.
And were able to do, I think it was called IDPM. I forget, it was Institute of Data Processing Management or something like that. There was that already in the market, but then there was courses I did without ever touching a computer. So I touched a computer literally and got very familiar, one at ISEC and then through other courses post-university.
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable, with a whole business degree to talk about.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that, I mean, Kenyans, we have grit and determination.
Exactly.
So there's also that self-study element. But I'm lucky because at Kenyatta University, like my education degree served me well.
Okay.
So I have the fundamentals, I had them, and it was easy to get into pedagogy. But unfortunately, I think we still fall short a little bit in terms of how modern the education system is.
Yes.
Because also
And how
when I
responsive.
and how responsive it is. Because when I started teaching in the UK, I had to do a conversion course as well.
Okay, from your degree to be able to get qualifications to teach.
Qualifications to teach in England or
Yes.
in a British school.
Wow. Okay.
Anywhere in the world. And it wasn't far removed from what we have studied, but it's about updating teaching methods and, psychology as well, child psychology, education psychology.
Wow. Yes.
Things change, things, evolve, but that was good.
Okay. And then now, talking about education, you also furthered your knowledge
Yes.
beyond what you had learnt in Germany.
Yes.
How did you do that, and what was the trigger for that to happen in the UK?
So throughout, my teaching stint was very short, and then I went back into banking.
Okay.
So I joined UBS, an investment bank in central London, and being in HR, I mean, it was still the same thing. I was in charge of ensuring that people go through their what do you call it? Education roadmap. Like there's a training roadmap for all the seniors, for C-suite and the top leadership.
Yes.
Before they can get their A bonuses and before they can also get their promotions.
Okay.
So charting and ensuring everyone goes through that roadmap was one of my responsibilities. So I was still in a way in the education and in the knowledge space.
Yes.
And facilitating all of those trainings also gave me a lot of residual kind of knowledge that
Yes.
you don't think you're going to use, but then it comes in handy sometime. So
It definitely does, because it gives you the framework to analyze or to apply. Because I would ask you, for
Exactly.
example, if someone gets into the wine space today,
Yes.
is there a roadmap that they can follow? To get to the different levels, but we'll come to that later.
Yes. Yeah, we'll come to that. So yeah, to your question, there was an awful lot of dining and wining during my banking stint, and you come into contact with a lot of different wines, different wine experiences, and so it was almost like sharpening the knife. You've learned about Barolo, but then you're drinking a Barolo. You've learned about say Bordeaux wine, and you
Yes.
come across different types of Bordeaux wine. One of the things that people in the banking space do very well, in the UK is they drink well. The jobs are so stressful, but
Yes.
that invariably you're in a pub or in a dining space at the end of the day. So then I embarked on my WSETs.
Okay.
Because in Germany I was doing a different kind of training. It was not like a training that is, a global training.
Okay.
But this I was intentional about.
Yes.
So I did my WSETs and until my diploma level in 2013. It's ages. It's ages now.
2013 is a long time.
2013 is a long time. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it anyway. I had no intention of leaving banking. In fact, after banking, I went and joined Microsoft.
Wow.
Again, in learning and development. And I didn't know how to use. I had no intention of using my wine knowledge, save for being the person at the table who can help other people
understand.
order wine.
Okay.
Yes.
A very expensive way for that credential, right? Because
Yeah.
wines and spirits education courses, and especially up to level 4, cost the bank, right? But you worked in the
They
bank,
do.
so
Well, no, it's not that I had
Yeah.
a lot of residual income, but it's better to get a different kind of knowledge than go shopping every evening. And there's a lot of time in your adult life when you're working. If you plan well, there's a lot of time. What do you
Yes.
do with that time?
Exactly.
I had the option of doing my MBA or doing another degree, perhaps even doing a PhD, but wine knowledge is fun.
is fun.
Yeah. You're studying, you're having a good glass of wine, you're meeting fantastic people that you'd
Exactly.
otherwise not meet. You're traveling the
You're
world,
traveling the world.
in a
Exactly.
glass.
Yes.
It was an easy compromise.
Easy compromise for that, but I love it. I love this flower that's opening today. Someone I thought I really knew very well, but then I'm seeing all these different aspects, you know.
Yes.
Which we can actually develop our own Kenyan wine course at this rate, because you have the fundamentals
Shall we?
of the learning and development, like you said.
Yes.
And I mean, you know, you have the framework and tools to do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it comes to you very easy, and it's something really possible for us to do.
Well, maybe we should look into that.
Look into that. So Microsoft, then what? So how did you end up back in Kenya?
Well, I then moved to Spain.
Oh my goodness. It doesn't get any better than this, does it? Okay.
Yes, I went to live in Barcelona. I was hoping to meet Thierry Henry at the time. He was the buffest, sexiest footballer in the Barcelona Football Club.
And still is, right?
But he's retired. There's been others since him. But he was not the motivation. I moved with family, lived and worked in Barcelona. And my work was really, I was waiting in friends' restaurants. I was a sommelier at the time. Yes, in evenings. And then, well, the blessing that was Spain was that we got to travel a lot in wine country.
Okay.
Because of the proximity of France and Spain as well.
Yes.
I was able to go to vineyards in France and travel throughout Spain and consolidate my wine knowledge. I also had the time. And Spain has better weather for thinking, planning.
True. Thinking and learning practically.
Practically, yes. That also is, you know, because I moved with family. At the time, I had children, or we had children, and you start to think about the rat race and how you want to grow old, and what are the things you would be doing besides what your career is. So my career was in banking, in learning and development, but I've moved to another country and I've seen another side of life.
Yes.
I've experienced a different lifestyle and a different way of making money too.
I love it. I love it. So how many languages do you speak? I have to ask you that at this point, because I'm losing track.
Fluently?
Yes, fluently.
Kamba?
Of course.
Kamba, my mother tongue. I'm
your mother
fluent.
tongue, yes.
I dream in Kamba.
Okay.
I dream in Kamba.
Kiswahili chako ni sanifu.
Kiswahili changu ni kizuri sana, lakini kiko na flavor ya Nairobi, Sheng, even though Sheng has evolved. Oh my goodness.
It's its own language on its own.
It is its own language on its own. But yes, I do understand French, German, bit of Slovak, Spanish, but I don't practice it in Kenya. So,
Okay.
And of course, English. We are communicating in English. And then there's Swahili and there's Kamba. And everyone who grows up in Nairobi will understand Kikuyu or speak it. So I have to say, proficiently, English, Swahili, and Kamba. All other languages, don't try to gossip me in those languages.
You will hear.
I will understand. I might not respond in the same language.
Yes.
But yes.
Yeah. But then, very, I mean, lovely. It's like this quilt you're building over time.
It is.
So you've talked about priorities changing. You've talked about the rat race. So I get a sense that work-life integration, I don't like the word balance, because I don't think anybody has figured out balance.
No.
Integration was now influencing your choices of what you want to do.
Yes.
Because you've had your run across corporate, and then I'm hearing you sommelier in Spain,
Yes.
which I mean, it's quite an experience, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah.
Right? So 2022 we are in Nairobi, but you didn't come in 2022.
I came back home 10 years ago exactly.
So 2012.
2012, yeah. Actually, December 2011.
Okay.
So this would be a couple of months, 10 years
10
on.
years on. Wow.
Yes, and the decision to come back home was really influenced by the fact that we had children. We had been abroad for way too long for a family, for the kind of family life we wanted.
Okay.
We wanted the children to be culturally aware and confident in the fact that they are Kenyans, they are Africans, and they grew up in Africa. So it was an intentional move because they were born abroad, they had their experiences and interactions abroad, went to 3 different schools abroad because of the move. So I think it was very important that we came back home so that even though they are third culture kids or global nomads, whatever label anyone would want to put on them, they need to be secure in the fact that their identity, their roots are in Kenya.
Okay. And the holidays don't really cater for that because it's a really short time.
Gosh, holidays are artificial. Holidays are about partying and going to nice places and family being so nice and available for 2 weeks. After that, there's the reality of living with the dynamics of family.
Yes.
In a country that is foreign because you have been away for a while. You know, culture shock also happens to
Reintegrate.
returnees. Yeah.
It is absolutely. And maybe it's even worse.
It's worse because of the guilt attached to, oh, I'm Kenyan, I'm supposed to understand my people, my place, and I'm supposed to just slot in smoothly.
Yes.
But you've appreciated different, you know different. So
Yes,
when you
yes.
come back and some things are shocking you, then there's that stigma associated with, why are you being different? Why are you pretending not to understand that this is how we live or this is how things
This
are?
is how things are,
But it
yeah.
was a pleasant move back home because the development has been great. People have, yes, changed, but you know, the country has moved forward in
Yes.
leaps and bounds.
Leaps and
Yeah.
bounds. And it's a different environment altogether.
It's a different space, yes. Yeah.
So I actually didn't realize because I got back in December 2012.
oh, a year after I
A
did.
year after you. For some reason, I thought you had been back much earlier. And of course, wine was not in my radar at all.
No.
But you're one of the first people that I knew from before who I met that was now in wine. But I
Yeah.
ask you then, maybe there was choices of what? I don't know whether Deutsche Bank has a Nairobi office. Microsoft definitely had one.
Yes.
Barclays you knew already before. Why not go back into that or teach in the myriad of British curriculum schools in Nairobi?
There's a saying. If you look in water, and I think this is Joe Dafana who said this before.
Oh, okay, yes.
If you look in a glass of water, all you see is yourself.
Yourself, yes.
But if you look in a glass of wine, you see others.
Okay.
And for me, having experienced the wine world and the corporate world, I thought to myself, what is it that I can do that I will enjoy, but also impact other lives? I am coming back home. Surely there must be something I can do to change the situation back home. And remember, when you used to come on holiday as well.
Yes.
What were we drinking when you come on holiday?
I would have to bring my own stash.
I drank plonk and plenty of it, like not very good wine.
Yes.
And so there was always that thing at the back of my head that there's two things that were completely unacceptable for a country as forward thinking and is so big on tourism as Kenya. And those two things were bad wine, so bad
Terrible.
beverage,
Yes.
and horrible service. Like even those who are pouring that bad wine did not know how to do it and do it
Exactly.
well and with joy and love and with a bit of energy. So that became then my agenda.
Okay.
Because I had already done a stint in Spain with
yeah.
in the restaurant space as a sommelier, and I thought that right there is the gap
Yes.
that is missing, and I can plug that gap and change things.
Yes.
And feel good about the change that I've created in the industry. So it was an easy thing to do. I knew that I would have to forego the income, the money, the suits, high heels.
But you're in the suit today.
It's just a one blazer for this interview for you.
For me, thank you. Thank you very much.
So for me, it was a natural, decision to make. And so I started my own consultancy in Kenya called Ethnovino.
Yes.
Know Your Wine. And the idea was just to demystify wine by doing education, appreciation or experiential events, and helping people build their cellars. So good, nice collections of wines which they can drink with their friends. So Ethnovino covered that. I did quite a few trainings on trade, helping people, helping restaurants and hotels list wines, good
yes.
wines, train their staff. And then through doing that, I was taken on by Wines of the World and I started working for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Wines of the World, one of the older African-owned importers, right? And even retailers, because now they have space as well.
Yes.
And I remember that space in the Junction Mall,
Yes.
which is where again we met again. One of
That's
the
the first
tastings.
time we met. You came to one of my tastings.
I came to one of your tastings.
Yeah?
Yes, I had shaved my hair bald. I remember.
Oh, you looked awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still do.
You still do. You're beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
And you were on holiday, if I remember.
No. I had just okay. So the first few years of being back are you here or are you back?
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm like, when you see me here, I'm here, and when you see me gone, I'm gone.
Yeah.
My transition wasn't quite, okay, I'm moving back home. The first
Right.
2 years were a bit hedgy, but then now wine gave me an anchor to stay.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but then it was never really in my radar that way.
Ah, what spurred you on? What got you interested? And
I'm the one asking the questions here, Victoria.
Oi, it's a conversation.
Of course, but I knew this would happen. I knew this would happen. I remember actually at that day, what was the place called? At the
wine
junction.
shop. Yeah.
The wine shop, and it was a really nice cellar room, I remember, even with built-in sinks. And you had a number of wines, but I remember the Saint Michel Syrah.
Oh, yes.
From the US of A, right?
Yes.
And of course, you did your thing, really great. We had the tasting, and then I think you asked questions of how can we improve our service and what does Kenya really need. And of course, I had gone through that whole, what do you drink when you're back, and your stash runs out in a few days.
Yeah.
And I said, I think we need a wine club or something,
Yes.
like a wine subscription service or whatever it was. And of course, we left it at that, I guess.
Yes.
But then really great experience. And I really loved that spot, actually, because even for just food, it was in the mall, but it still had this, really, you could have been anywhere in the world enjoying that. For me, then, my trigger was, yes, I could not find my drink of choice.
Yeah.
And even this stash I used to bring for myself then became, because my friends knew whenever I traveled, I would bring wine, and they would come and finish it all.
Oh.
And was supposed to stay for what, 3 months?
3 months.
Then got finished in a day. There's a day I actually removed an invoice book and charged everybody.
Oh, that's clever of
Charged
you.
everybody. So they're like, then make this a business.
Yeah.
But then in hindsight, as much as I lived in South Africa and I had, we are hardly anywhere for 10 minutes. We are not anywhere for 10 minutes. But anyway, let's go on.
Yeah.
I lived in South Africa and I had access. I knew that what was in Kenya at that time was literally like it was like buying a tender.
Yeah.
Where do I go and drink today? Will they have it? Will I afford it?
Yeah.
Will it be in the right state? Right? So you think that you can come and fill the gap. Of course, not realizing there's people in the ecosystem already who are trying to really do the same thing.
Yes.
But my importing dreams evaporated very quickly.
I'm not surprised.
Very quickly when I learned about the regulation, the regulatory environment and all that. But then now, I didn't know about the Wines and Spirits Education Trust. So then education became, okay, let me get my knowledge and learning in order. Since I wasn't a banker who was going for all these dinners before, let me get that in order. And because, again, this is a gap, then I can bring this into the country. So that was one sort of now vision in terms of I can do the education side, because then in my past I used to do a lot of education. Then Wines of South Africa, one of the gentlemen who runs the Africa markets happened to come to do a presentation in a class I was attending.
Yes.
And I'm asked, okay, so you say you're in Africa, where are you exactly? Because I haven't seen you in Kenya. He says, no, we go to Uganda. I'm like, Uganda versus Kenya. Kenya is a bigger market. So then we got talking.
Yeah.
And he invited me to the next Uganda event that was going to be held, I think, in October 2014.
Right.
Based on that, then I had to write a proposal to WOSA, Wines of South Africa, in terms of how we could do the same in Kenya. And in 2015, then we held the first, it was, of course, the trade show, as well as the training, which again we met.
Yes,
We met again for the second time because then you were at WOW. So that's how, I guess that's how my journey evolved. I was thirsty. I was thirsty for an opportunity since, of course, I was coming to do something new, and I was thirsty for, of course, good wine at affordable prices here.
How tragic is it that South Africans would ask you what part of where do you come from? I mean, how are they even marketing wine past the port?
Yes.
Because all wine would land in Kenya and then goes to Uganda. In fact, you've plugged a really good gap that existed before. South African wine was the number one wine in Kenya.
In Kenya, yes.
But we never felt their presence. They didn't do any marketing until you started your business. They were not even interested in Kenya.
And there's really need for those sort of, big umbrella bodies doing marketing jointly and supporting on ground. Either it's brand building, bringing winemakers, all that is really, really necessary.
Exactly. So well done, you.
No, thank you very much. But then, I mean, you inspire us and you continue to do that. So Wines of the World, WOW Beverages, how long did that last? And, what other things have you been able to do since then?
Do I remember how long it lasted? It was a really good stint, an excellent experience. They had 1,600 SKUs from all over the world. They had the best portfolio. They were an excellent employer, still are, I imagine. But what was very crucial at the time, they were big on experiences.
Okay.
Which is just right up my alley. So if I wasn't teaching, I was hosting an event or, hand selling or doing private dinners. And I really enjoyed it because that way we had the opportunity to go through the portfolio and get many people to experience that. So at some point, I felt a need to go back to my consultancy because then I would work with other stakeholders in the market. So I'm not just working with the one importer who is amazing. I can work with the likes of all the other people who are available and pick and choose good wines that I believe in, that I think that Kenyans should discover even more of.
Exactly.
And then, put a lot more wine on the market and on the map. So I think for me, I really enjoy advocacy work as well. And so that was my little stint of pushing good wine out to the masses, not just from one portfolio, but from different portfolios.
Okay.
So, and I think that was 6 years ago now that I started my own business. And my business was very much what I was doing for WOW and what I was doing before WOW. So wine appreciation events and education being, a big component of it. But then out of that appreciation event space arose a new opportunity. Whenever I went out and did a wine event, then people were like, can we have the wines? Can we have them now? And then I had to go back and coordinate with all these importers.
Curating, yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And who was taking the flack? Yours truly.
Yours truly, yeah.
Where's my wine? Where's my wine? And so Seller 254, an online retail wine only business, was born out of that experience.
Okay.
And so that's my new baby, Seller 254, 6 years old now, and I stock and sell wines from 17 different countries, wines that I like. If I can drink it, I think you would love it.
Yes.
That's the principle of it, and the idea is also to ensure that all the wines are well curated with food pairings, serving temperatures, a little bit of history behind the producers, and also what the wine tastes like, not just as written on the label, but from my tasting notes as well. Yeah, because we all have different palates and taste is relative, isn't it? So the way a Kenyan would taste wine, for example, is very different from how the winemaker in Italy imagines you would enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're all weaned on different things and we've all cultivated a different taste profile. So I feel like I'm closer to my own people in terms of creating wine descriptions that actually resonate well with my people.
With the people and the language they understand.
And the language they understand.
Because when you say oak, it was like me and sandwiches growing up. You read about famous five, went for a picnic, we had sandwiches. And I used to think sandwiches, a day I'll be able to eat sandwiches.
Yes.
If they had just told me it was bread and meat.
And something in between.
Yes. I mean, I wouldn't have been so eager to do that. So very, very key. And I think you've mentioned Joseph Tafana, who's a Zimbabwean. But then even how the descriptors we use for the wines. Yes, we've gone through the global education system. We have the qualification, but you have to really be very culturally sensitive in how you explain things to people. I know one of the biggest challenges for me was teaching in Mombasa, where I had to be very conscious of Swahili, examples of things that made sense at the coast, as opposed to where I'm from, the mountain region of Mount Kenya. Again, very different examples there.
Yeah.
And I think you've done very well in that sense and that way. And even the name 254 is the Kenya
country code for Kenya.
Country code for Kenya.
Yes, and even though seller sounds like seller, I think it's also broadening the mind of the consumers to start thinking about beyond consuming on one day. There's storage. There's a storage aspect. There's many aspects about it. So
creating collectors of wine.
Collectors, think about what you're drinking. You know, there's a bit more, I feel, body of knowledge when I use that word as opposed to saying Victoria's Cave or Victoria's Wine.
Wines and spirits.
Wines and spirits. But you mentioned, speaking the people's language.
Yes.
The other thing is, I feel 10 years in the Kenyan space, speaking with the people about wine is also important. Like, speak with them, understanding what it is that they're picking, the notes that they can pick up in the glass.
Okay.
What comes to mind when they sip the wine is part of building their own stories, building your own story, but also making wine acceptable, because we are not a wine culture.
Yes.
This is a very foreign drink to us as Africans. However, we are the kings of fermentation and, fermented products.
Yes.
We are all wind on porridge, fermented things of sorts. Yeah, we believe in preservation of food naturally.
Yes.
So there's principles in winemaking and in enjoying wine that will resonate with us, but then you have to understand us to speak our language.
Our language. Very, very key.
Yeah.
Very, very important. And you got into this space, online retail,
Yes.
before the big COVID, where now everybody was rushing into that.
Yeah.
Such foresight. How did that come about?
I think what I didn't appreciate very much was you go to a shop, a store like this one,
Yes.
and there's a plethora of bottles of wines, and you just don't know where to start.
Yes.
And you get intimidated and anxious. So your buying journey, your shopping journey is actually stressful. And there was not a single online store that sold only wine, and I thought it was also an opportunity because living abroad I used to do online shopping. There was Amazon, there was Waitrose, there was El Corte Inglés in Spain. So it's just easy in your own time when you're relaxed to pick and choose, make a decision based on information at hand. So I think at the time it came in very handy because there's a level of people, there's a group of people
Yes.
who are discreet, who want to shop when they are relaxed, and who want to ask questions to knowledgeable people.
Okay.
And that is the same clientele that I used to host, that I still host, and those are still my clients online. Now things have changed.
Yes.
Since COVID, I think everyone is online, which is fantastic. So there's a lot more choice and there's a lot more, bargains.
Bargains for everybody.
Because of competition,
Competition. But then I think even the fact that there was not very many specialist wine shops,
Yes.
where perhaps the level of service, say here, there's actually a som who will take you through the process properly.
Yes.
The average, say, supermarket chain or corner wines and spirits shop, people have no idea at all in terms of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So then we appreciate that. Another thing I loved about your pioneering spirit is now during COVID itself, you took it
Yes.
a notch higher. Everybody was trying to understand the virtual tastings and all.
Yes.
And here you are now linking us straight to the winemakers from top brands across the world. I'm not sure how you did it because I think over 3 months daily, there was a class with like 6 wines sort of every day. Please tell us about that. I don't know what you called it. I think it was the Cellar 254 series.
In your cellar series.
In your
Meet
cellar
the
series,
winemaker.
or Meet the winemaker. Yes.
Yeah. I think that was a crazy moment. Honestly, I don't know what inspired that, but I know COVID did something really unfortunate to some of us who enjoy traveling and being out there and meeting people. But I think it was, if I say so myself, a genius moment because everyone was also so receptive to come on the online show and talk about their wines
In a Kenyan audience.
To a Kenyan audience. And in fact, it then turned out to be a global audience because
really?
people started, joining in from across the world.
I love it.
Winemakers are very busy people. Producers, I appreciate their calendars are chock-a-blocked. If they're not making wine, they're meeting customers across the globe and trying to put their wines on the shelf down our throats.
Yes.
And so to get a winemaker to come to Kenya, there's got to be a business sense. Like very few winemakers come to our events or come to talk to us. In fact, they send their salespeople who unfortunately sometimes are not as motivated or as plugged into the winemaker's philosophy as you would like. And so we were lucky to have the likes of Kevin Arnold, the likes of Ken Forrester, and many other winemakers share with us firsthand. I'm forever grateful to not just the winemakers, but also the importers because they opened their doors. They realized there's a different way of having these conversations, of having people come to meet their fans, not
Yes.
just fans, but their wine lovers. So I thank all the importers in Kenya who were able to also make that happen. I'm forever indebted to them.
Yes.
And you can see now, look at the choice we have
Exactly.
of wines.
Of wines.
Kenyans have become more discerning, more adventurous. The importers have become more specific and intentional with what it is they're bringing to the consumers, because now they know that people know a little bit more and people want better.
Better, exactly. I'll confess, I tried to sit in through some of the sessions, like
Yes.
on the day of,
Yeah.
but I find I actually had to watch them
Yeah.
earlier in the morning when I'm fresher, taking notes, because those were classes. And I'm glad the information is there online in terms of content that we can go back to again and again, specifically for the different brands. Thank you for creating that for us.
You're welcome. That depository
Yes.
is for generations to come.
Generations to come and all of
And the
us.
winemakers were so generous
Yeah.
with sharing their knowledge that, come on, I'm sure even half of them have not shared that knowledge elsewhere.
Elsewhere, exactly.
And so that's the spirit of COVID.
Very, very much.
That's a blessing we got.
very, very, I mean, very, very, I think it was very, it was genius of you.
Thank
and we love
you.
you for that. Now,
Thank
coming
you.
to the ecosystem, because that was really ecosystem. You brought in the different producers, you brought in importers, you brought in consumers from a global audience to be able to watch your shows. What do you think of the wine ecosystem in Kenya today? We can talk about how far we've come.
Yes.
And the changes that have happened, but what is it today?
It's promising. It's a beautiful space. Yes, we have to mention where we've come from 0 to 70. But the wine system in Kenya still has, ecosystem in Kenya still has a long way to go. I think we are relatively fragmented. We're not yet as cooperative as I would like us to be, and as you would like them to be. I mean, there's always parts of, yes, let's cooperate, but I would like us to be at a place where we are co-opting as opposed to we're cooperating and competing at the same time.
Okay.
As opposed to just competing. We're still at the competitive stage. So I think it's still at a very immature place where, you know, everyone is pitting their wines against each other, as opposed to just appreciating the fact that consumers have choice.
Have choice, yes.
How do we engage them to be sure that they are actually going through the choices that they have, as opposed to trying to create loyalty with one one brand? It's not possible. Nowhere in the world. Wine is a very evolving space.
Yes.
And the beauty for consumers, unlike in the world of maybe beer in Kenya, and I'm sorry to my beer lovers, you're not restricted to an insular taste with very small variables.
Yes.
When you think about the production of wine, it's global. So wine from the US and wine from New Zealand, those are two different options. And actually, wine from the same place in New Zealand, let's say Marlborough,
Yes.
two different farms, will be completely different.
Different as well, yes.
So I want us to get, it's my hope that with a few more months, years, we will get to a place where we cooperate and compete in equal strength and measures.
Measures, yeah.
So that we grow the category as a whole. There's 54 million mouthfuls in Kenya. When you take only just 1 or 10% of that, you have so many people to drink wine. How do we provide an environment for them besides the availability of helping them drink across different styles, different types, different countries, just different wines?
Different wines.
Yes.
But we're competing against other spirits and beers and gins as well, right?
And water.
Water and soup and all that stuff. Okay.
Yes, so the competition for throat share is there, yes.
Yes.
But within our industry, the wine industry, just us as a small community, and we're a very small community, there's opportunities for more experiential events, for more tastings, for more education, for more knowledge sharing, so that we're a stronger unit.
Okay.
And when we're a stronger unit, we're able to grow even more. We're able to provide more choice. We're able to, you know, economically grow better so we can bring in more choices.
choices,
There's
true.
so many
There's
other
so
wines
many other
available,
wines
out,
available.
out there that should be in Kenya, that must be in Kenya in the next 3 years. So how do we do that?
Or even become a bigger producer of wine in this space?
That too. Do you have a little plot
I don't.
where we can grow 3-4 vines?
I'm from a tea and coffee region. That's all we're going to be doing for now,
wow.
unless we innovate differently.
Yes.
So other than cooperation, what do you think are some of the other opportunities? Even perhaps in the region, not necessarily within the country itself.
The biggest opportunity is education.
Okay.
Yep. Knowledge is power. Without knowledge, you're consuming blindly. People have to understand what it is that they're consuming,
Okay.
so that they can make an informed choice. So that's a huge opportunity. And who can plug into that opportunity? You're in the perfect space to plug that gap. But it's all the stakeholders in the ecosystem that need to also lend a hand.
Yes.
Because you cannot do it alone. So the producers, the brand owners, the importers, the hoteliers, the restaurant owners, the government, yeah, policymakers, make it easier for us.
Easier for us to do that. Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked at the level of curriculum. You said, in your food and science curriculum, there was no beverages at all.
No.
Even now, for the culinary arts and the food and beverage courses, as much as there is some information on beverages, wine is still just a dot in the system.
Exactly.
Any plans, special plans for Cellar 254, for Victoria, going forward? What are some of the big exciting things you'll be doing?
My life is always exciting.
We know that. We know that for sure.
Yes, as a hyperactive Pisces. For me, experiences are big on my to-do.
Okay.
Experiences. When you experience something, you don't forget. And I'm a kinesthetic learner as well. I want to touch, feel, experience. So one of the big things in my pipeline is enotourism. So I had started wine tourism, and I took Kenyans to Spain and to Italy. And I want them to experience other wine growing areas firsthand.
Okay.
So that is big. The other thing that is big on me is to change the level of service and the quality of service in Kenya.
Big one.
If you're working on the trade, you're going to see my face. You better pour that wine right, talk about it right, enjoy doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Because that's also part of the experience. When we come out, and we want to inspire people when we're consuming wine.
Yes.
We want whiskey drinkers to think about drinking wine and to love the idea of starting with wine and moving on to their other things. We want people who drink beer to have a go at wine, but we can only do that when the experience is actually aspirational.
Okay.
We want people to feel like, yeah, I can drink wine, I can enjoy wine, and I can understand wine.
And confidence to know that they're doing it the right way.
Confidence,
yes,
is everything. So those two things are big on my agenda. And the last thing is advocacy. Kenya is not just going to be a marketplace. You're not going to just come and dump your wines here and just assume it's the responsibility of the importer to just sell your wines. How are you supporting us? How are you talking to us? I was at Vinitaly recently, and God bless Italians. They are amazing people. I've never been welcomed by so many different people who did not know me, and they shared their knowledge and their philosophies so freely. One of them being
oh yes, I was going to ask about this bottle that had been sitting here,
and this is what we are enjoying.
Tell us about this wine.
Yes, I'll tell you about him in a bit. And I thought, and all of them wanted to come to Kenya, but there's that fear of, where are we going? Why should we go to Kenya? So for me, opening up those avenues to encourage producers and winemakers and wine families to come to Kenya and holiday and tell us about their wines and get Kenyans to experience that is really huge. And, there's also wine from different parts of the world that we have never seen anybody.
Yes.
For example, wines from America, USA. I mean, that's, for me, top of the agenda. Come, Americans. I mean, we are all going to university in America.
Why are we not bringing wine there, or why isn't it big here?
Why isn't it big
all
here?
All the big American, I mean, we know Americans are known for their branding anyway.
Exactly.
Like, why don't we have all those big brands
and the
here?
diversity of their wine is something to celebrate. 50 states of wine.
Sure.
Can you imagine? And we only have one or two importers with a small, so when I talk about advocacy, I'm not talking about sort of that political. No, it's really a knowledge agenda. It's really a communication agenda and putting different styles of wine on the Kenyan consumer's table. So putting it on the map. So together we'll do this. I can't work alone. I've never worked alone. I think it's interesting when as a category, a community, we pull together and make sure the diversity exists,
yes,
but also the support
definitely
exists.
definitely
Yeah.
And that is why we are having these conversations, because I realize a lot of the information I have about the wine industry is very anecdotal,
Yes.
because I'm living here and I experience it every day. But then people don't know the same thing, what you were saying about what is in Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah, convincing wines of South Africa to come.
Yeah.
You know, getting the response you're getting from Vinitaly. This
Yeah.
is a way to show you the faces behind,
Yes.
you know, the knowledge behind,
Yes.
and really give you the insider look into the wines and spirits industry in this space. This is my own way of being that advocate, like you're saying.
Excellent.
But then again, we need to be able to negotiate from a position of power.
Absolutely.
Yeah? And say no to the stuff we don't want here, and negotiate better products for the people here.
Absolutely.
Please do tell us about this wine and why you chose it. Is there any particular reason? Is this your favorite, or for now?
Well, saying you have a favorite wine is like choosing your children, right?
Definitely, yes.
Not easy. For me, this wine, I thought deeply about what wines we can enjoy today.
Okay.
And there's so many wines we can enjoy, like, you know, being here at the Market Cellar at
Yes.
Art Cafe.
Yes.
They have an excellent choice of wines. But this is from a family I really respect and that I met in Italy. So in particular, I met Giuseppe Vieira, the son of the owner, and he's now managing the business. But the wines are well made. I went to Piemonte. It's an excellent, excellent place. They are doing organic farming
Wow.
in Europe. I mean, there's a lot of Italians doing organic farming, but the Vieira family are doing organic farming, low intervention, hand harvested wines, and what they put in the bottle is really true to the terroir.
Okay.
We talk about typicity in wine, but if you want to taste Nebbiolo, the taste of the soils in the Lange,
Yes.
try this. And this is not their top wine. This is just one of their premium wines, not entry level, but premium wines. And they have just managed to capture the magic of the region of Lange. And that's why I like it. A lot of people think, you know, I'm just in the wine business. And that's true. But I'm in the people business, you know. Wine is about people, and this family really impressed me.
Awesome.
The importer as well is a fantastic person.
Or the importer. So this wine is already in Kenya, and there's an
Yes.
importer who brings it
Yes.
to this market. Awesome.
Yeah. So let's taste the wine together, and you'll see what I mean by capturing the magic of the place in a glass. You know, a lot of wines, the first thing you pick up on the nose is the wood. It's the
Yes.
secondary interventions that have gone to it. But with this Nebbiolo, it's the fruit.
Yes.
It's a place, yeah? And on the nose, there's an earthy note.
Very, very earthy.
Yeah, very, very earthy. And it smells clean. Which
And
is
it's also
important.
very elegant.
Elegant on the nose.
Yes, very, very
exactly.
elegant. Rather, I should say, I mean, it's not harsh on the nose, yeah? You're getting more floral, herbal
Yes.
notes coming through, yeah.
Which are the typical notes that you expect from a Nebbiolo. So you have, some red flower, a rose or something. But it is that elegant nose that you pointed out that is so useful for anybody who's like Kenyans, we're very much into sweet wines. But we use the word sweet to mean different things.
Yes.
To describe people, you look sweet. I don't know how that how that works out. Sweet to mean delicious and sweet to mean sugary. So for those of us who like sweet wine, the nose of this wine, because it's slightly fruity,
Yes.
it can actually trick the
Trick
mind
you
or
to-
perceive
that is-
you, or make you perceive it as a sweet wine. So on the palate, smooth, elegant. The fruit comes first, the earthy notes, bit of mushroom, bit of some earthy note. Like it doesn't taste of Kenya.
No.
You know?
No.
It doesn't even have petrichor, you know, that rainy sort of, no, it's the earth, it's the soil,
The
it's
soil-
a place.
The soil itself, yes.
And if you try many Italian wines, you can almost feel like if you've been to Italy, you can almost feel like you're experiencing it in Italy.
In Italy, wow.
And for me, this particular Lange Nebbiolo reminds me of my trip to Piemonte and the soils and, you know, just that feeling, that smell on the nose. But Giuseppe, or Pepe, as he likes to be known, is completely like this wine.
Okay.
He's gregarious. He's so honest. He's so open. He was such a joy to be around, and his sister as well. And I think this is what wine does.
Okay.
Truly well-made, honest wine will transport you somewhere.
Take you to the
will
place
give
and
you
a story.
Yes, a story. It will give you also a nice memory. So I chose this wine because of that memory. It's a recent memory. The wine is well made. It gives me a happy feeling, and it's well priced. It's well priced. Yeah, it's
$3,250
$30.
thereabouts.
Yeah, there's parity. If you
Okay.
Google, that wine costs relatively the same in Europe, in the US, and in Italy as well.
We've definitely come a long way from where we were 10 years ago when we started this business, because
Yes.
the markups were definitely larger than that.
Yes.
I'm so happy we had this conversation. Clearly, this is just episode 1. We need to come back again.
Are you sure about
and
that?
talk. No, really, there is so much. But thank
There's
you for
too
giving
much.
us a taste, and you're always such a joy. And
Thank
I want
you.
us to look forward to creating more memories together.
To creating more memories. Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
It's always a joy. And well done on creating this. I think this is also genius. It's sharing these stories and just getting more people in the pipeline to aspire to be sommeliers, and those sommeliers to feel like, okay, there's somewhere I can go. Plug yourself in the training, education, experiences, or join us in advocacy to make sure that we have excellent wines in Kenya.
Well said. There you have it. Thank you so much, Victoria Mulu-Munywoki, extraordinaire. She's not quite the grandmother of wine, but we look up to her in many ways in this country. This is only the beginning. We look forward to many more. Back to you.